Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Galactic Astrology Podcast. My name is Ursula, and I'm joined by the podcast co-host, Julia Balaz. Julia is the creator and founder of what's called the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner's course. And today she and I are celebrating the most recent graduate from this rather extensive course. We're congratulating Salma, who's based currently in Amsterdam. So welcome, ladies, and congratulations, Salma.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We're just going to call out that it's June of 2023, and a royal star named Aldebaran is shining its light to support this galactic conversation. Before we started recording, we invited in our full star families and our higher selves so that the words coming forward now will be about inspiration, truth, and love. So here we are, and you know, it's remarkable. I mean, I was just saying how high vibe things are feeling to me. And Salma, I have visited your website. I've gone onto your YouTube, which is rather new, but there's this sparkling nature of someone who has traveled a deep spiritual path and has a broad dashboard of spiritual modalities, all seemingly surrounding the great I am and a call towards healing. So if you're hearing this message now and you're interested in self-healing or healing of your family members or friends or the greater collective, I'd say stay tuned in. There's so much more to talk about.
I feel so excited. I can hardly contain my energy in my belly. Just feels so good. I can't wait for this conversation.
Let's go for it.
Salma. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Salma, tell us a little bit about you, your journey as a child, a young adult, and then an adult as you've moved through this energy. What guided you onto this incredible and high level thinking around spirituality, evolution, transmutation, transformation, and consciousness? That's a lot.
I know. It's interesting you started with your childhood. Because I immediately went back to the times where I would usually ask questions to my parents, as in, is this it? What's out there? Looking out on the star, on the stars, and basically saying this is not it. And I know I was very often shut down because of the structures, religious belief systems were not actually told to question what's more out there, because that's already being said in the books, let's say, and how we're supposed to believe, what we're supposed to believe. So that's definitely something that was shut down, although I intrinsically knew that there must be more than what I see, even as a child. So there was an inner knowing there. But forwarding to where I am today, if I look at my spiritual journey, I strongly believe that has definitely started from a 5D perspective or even higher. So it's when you sit with your team to develop your blueprints and set up the contracts prior to the incarnation. So that's what I know and that's what I feel. But then if we take a look at the 3D perspective, as in when did it start, linear time, or even situations that led to a spiritual awakening, it started not a few years ago, I think roughly 5 to 10 years ago. I've been through many situations, periods that have led to certain awakenings, certain understandings, but I think I needed to awaken at a later stage to learn soul lessons, to really develop, but also be in certain roles and hold space for other people in my life. So I think I really needed to be introduced to certain spiritual theories, concepts at a later stage for my own development in terms of soul growth. So I think that's what really happened when I look in terms of, for instance, working in certain corporate environments, not really being aligned with my truth, if you look at my charts, I have heavy alignments of Aries, also a lot of Aries energies in there. So I kept on bumping my head, so to say, because I wanted to pivot, I wanted to succeed, I needed to achieve, go, go, go energies. So that also led to just me bumping my head a few times. And instead of being stubborn and being persistent, I needed to go within. So that's also, along with a couple of key defining moments externally, that combination led me to go into what we know as a dark night of the soul. So a couple of years of really reflecting, pausing, going within. That's when a lot of the puzzle pieces or messages came about that I started to receive in mainly my dream states or out-of-body experiences, synchronicities. And as an avid researcher that I am, I obviously start to do a lot of research on all these puzzle pieces that I'm receiving. So those puzzle pieces, for instance, Metatron, the Metatron's cube that you have on your background, that was one of the first puzzle pieces that I received constantly. And at that time, I never heard of Metatron or any other guides. Yeah, so a couple of spirit guides definitely came through during very difficult and hard times in my life. And then a lot of scenes, galactic scenes, galactic stories that I just did not understand. And being in my head and being a very rational thinker and in love with how the brain works, I knew that this was not a subconscious mind that I was tapping into, meaning these scenes I would have never been able to see through certain movies that I've seen on TV. These were scenes I've never seen before, but felt really real. And these were consecutive scenes that led to sort of like a storyline. So for me, it was like, what is this? I need to understand this, but I'm not sure how to and where to look for. But as we know, everything is divinely orchestrated. So I was also led to doing plant medicine. And that's where ayahuasca really showed me actually the evidence of a lot of the galactic influences, but also my galactic origins. Yeah, and that's what led me to also your course, Julia, also divinely orchestrated to search a lot more, learn a lot more. The book of Elena Danaan for sure, and that's where I really got excited to learn more about galactic astrology, connecting the dots. But even prior to that, so while healing myself in that dark night of the dark night of the soul, my intention of really looking for healing modalities initially was to heal myself. But when I transmuted certain things and really was able to see that I'm a co-creator in everything that happened, again, divinely orchestrated, that's where I thought, well, if this is really helpful to me, and these are all these very interesting tools that we can use to heal ourselves, transmute these darker or heavier energies, then I can potentially also help other souls transmute their soul lessons that they can learn, for instance, and grow from. And so that's really what led me on this path of not only healing myself, which was a priority and a commitment that I needed to really heal myself first prior to helping others, so as I won't become the wounded healer that is actually masking, the service to others, healing services, because I'm not healed yet. So that was definitely a priority myself. And I mean, healing is a lifelong process. I'm not saying that I'm completely healed or that there won't be any lessons for me to learn ever. Quite the contrary, but I needed to heal myself first before I made the commitment that there's nothing else blocking me from really being centered and present with the other, and then really try to help with whatever that soul needs. So that's when I said, instead of doing one healing modality, and I love to learn, I want to learn so many healing modalities that can operate as like a toolkit and a holistic approach of modalities that really fit the client in that sense. So there's no one fit model. I don't see that as like a one fit model for every type of person. It really is about the person sitting in front of me, whether it's digitally or physically. And that's where I really tune in with their energies, their intentions, their questions. And I know, or I'm divinely guided by both my spirit team as well as their spirit team. And that's when I know this is actually what I can use to help them in their next steps in their spiritual journey. So yeah, that's a bit in the nutshell where I came from, what I do.
Your chart is just as complex as the body of modalities that are so high vibrational that you now have under your belt. So I wonder, out of all those many connections, and it really, you know, I always say people who have so many different star systems in their natal chart, I feel they are the galactic ambassadors. They have the capacity to connect or activate so many different types of frequencies within the human collective. So, but I'm curious if there is any particular location on the sky that you felt particularly drawn to or activated by, or deeper, you know, the deeper connection. Could you share?
Yes.
The Lyra or Andromeda or any other?
That's definitely the experience that I had during my ayahuasca ceremonies, where I really saw myself as a feline being, so as a Lyran being. That's not to say that that was my only incarnation. As we know, there are many incarnations we could have had off planets, but that was definitely the one that was shown to me, along with the Pleiadians that I had scenes with or was actually communicating with in that same ceremony too. So those two were definitely prominent in all the scenes that I was able to experience, see, and receive messages from. And it definitely resonate also in terms of the Lyran and the feline energies, along with the Pleiadian energies. I've read a lot of books on it. I even used their own practice during the ayahuasca ceremony to connect with them, and that worked out because they actually guided me to those scenes. So it was really exciting for me to be connected with them. Well, while I was doing my own research on my own chart, when I was diving into the course, and I saw these other connections, each time I was diving deeper into their, for instance, collective karmic lessons, galactic karmic lessons, or gifts, strengths, and other points, they would still resonate for me. So I was like, hey, there's still something there. As you said, it's quite complex. But I can definitely feel that I am an ambassador of multiple star systems. That also how I always identified myself as a multi-dimensional, multifaceted being, and not just a single facet or a single star base. I might have a certain dominance in terms of galactic origins, but I've had many incarnations on and off planets. So I would like to think that I'm multifaceted in that sense. Yes.
Beautiful point. It really is feeling that way more and more for the collective, for anyone who seems to be tapping into this. We are realizing it, and I think it's such a beautiful, healing, expansive, evolutionary perspective to hold, rather than categorize us into those little squares and claim that and hold on to that, but rather, you know, this feels so much better, so much lighter. And I feel we are helping to evolve all those different connections through us to something new, right? So that's the journey of creation, always co-creating, always expanding.
What I want to add here too is I believe there was a reason why I was born with a multi-ethnic background. So I have 3 ethnic backgrounds in, let's say, my earthly blood. And I was always confronted with, well, what do you feel from an early age on? And I'm so glad that this was the case, because very early on, I always used to say, well, I'm not this or that. I am a being, you know, first, a soul. That's how I would like you to approach me, instead of putting me in a certain box. And I can't conform to a certain geographical location because it's easier for you. And I believe this really contributes to thinking we are all one, or at least going towards we are all one. We're multifaceted. If you look at our galactic DNA, we have so many star systems in our DNA. So it's, for me, it's just not the roots to say you're either this or that. We're one, Definitely, we are all fractions of source, and then we're just very multifaceted. It really depends on the journey that you took off and on planets, the lessons you wanted to learn as a soul, and the gifts you may bring to society and the universe. So that's how I see it.
If I could add something, when you take, if you decide to take a look at the Galactic Astrology 101 course, or even the Amazing Practitioners course, you start understanding, as Salma is saying, that, the question, so, hey, where are you from? Or what are you? Or who are you? It's this idea of the potential of redefining that which you know yourself to be. And we could use the broad umbrella of, yes, I always knew that I wasn't of the norm. I wasn't normal. I didn't like the same things my friends and family liked. So there is a place, if you're hearing this, for you to kind of put your toe in as well and find out, wow, what really am I? And Salma, you called out Metatron's cube, this archangel, right, of the sacred geometries, who, again, you also brought out the word multidimensionality. So it's this tuning into what feels right for you and following your passions. And I'm just going to call out a few things that Salma has studied, and I know there's way more, but your background, Salma, is in theta healing, emotion codes, EFT, or emotional freedom technique, the tapping, sacred cacao, and blue lotus ceremonies. QHHT, which, Julia, your studies and backgrounds have brought you so much information that guided you into creating this practitioner's course. And then Salma, something called Beyond Quantum Healing. And your website just says it all. It's www.iam-loveandlight.com. So as you're sharing your story, it all makes perfect sense. The mirror is very clear that you are engaging with this idea of there's more stories of the stars on an energetic and multi-dimensional level. So if you want to talk about quantum, going off the linear timeline of 3D, really consider taking a look at Salma's energy and her offerings through her website. And that just kind of flew out of me. But there is this idea, Salma, that you also said there's three aspects. The rewards of following your unique divine path includes transmutation, raising your vibration, and then why you can expand your consciousness. I'm going to pause there. Expanding your consciousness. Is that what it's about? To shift from unity and polarity, or polarity consciousness, to move into unity consciousness, to then move beyond even unity consciousness, right? The Andromedan flow of change.
Yes. Yes, so we know we are a fraction of source, and we're actually being mirrored so that we get to experience ourselves and learn more about ourselves, see ourselves from a different perspective. So if we talk about really raising your vibrations and increasing your consciousness, it's really about let's evolve together. There's so much more than what we have experienced so far, what we know about what is reality, and we can only evolve as a collective or as an individual when we are aware of ourselves, but also the reflections, everything that is being mirrored towards us. And it should be a conscious decision for us to want to grow, to go through all those pains, but also beautiful gifts that may bring with it. But I believe there is a tremendous amount of potential to evolve, again, as an individual, but also as a collective. And as a collective, I'm talking about society, I'm talking about planet Earth, I'm talking about this galaxy, I'm talking about the entire universe. But it starts with us as an individual. And I have seen in my life a lot of souls, and there's no good or bad in terms of where you stand in your spiritual journey, for instance, or your journey as a soul, and what lessons you decided to take on or not take on. But I just hate to see that we can sometimes get stuck or simply not evolve because we're not aware of the fact that there's more than this reality, or there's more knowledge and wisdom that we think there is out there. So evolving or increasing or expanding consciousness is all about becoming aware of yourself as an individual, that you're so much more than what you were taught, what you think you are, and that you can actually have a significant contribution towards elevating yourself, but also the collective. So it's really that for me.
I love it. I wonder, what is your experience like with your clients? You know, so many high vibrational modalities, and like even before we connected, just within 5 minutes before we connected, I started receiving like information that is expansive, like new perspective, like aha moments, and I realized it was you kind of tapping already into the field as we were connecting. So you know, being in your presence is very elevating and expanding and evolving. Me, I can feel that already. What is it like with your sessions, with your experience?
Oh, yes, yeah. So what I usually get is whoa a lot of the times, you know, and sometimes even very overwhelmed with everything that I'm sharing. So I'm trying to be cautious with that too. And that's actually one of the messages that I got in my ayahuasca session, is that I'm definitely tapping into the consciousness grid, if we're talking about consciousness here anyways. So I do have direct access to the consciousness grids, and what we might know as cosmic points, what you've shared, I think also, and it's there in my chart. But that knowledge and wisdom that is actually readily available and accessible to everyone is not accessible in that type of form for every soul on planet Earth. So I need to be careful in how I package it, and what information needs to be shared at this point of time for that soul in their journey. So that's definitely something I have learned. I'm still learning in all the sessions, that I'm not like, whoa, look at this information that I have for you, and here you go. I can do it. Definitely I'm tapping into the level of knowledge and wisdom that the client has. So that's definitely what I'm trying to do first, to then know how I should package it and what I can and should share, or what I should leave, until they actually specifically ask a question around certain themes. And yeah, but definitely it's always, wow, it's so much information you're sharing with us, and almost everything resonates. But so that's exciting too. Yeah,
It's like they can take a whole lifetime to digest the report that you send them. I saw your certification reports, that are so complex. My goodness, I love it. I live for this. So really well done for recognizing, because it's an important milestone in on a journey of any practitioner, especially someone who is wired multi-cosmically, like multi-galactically, to this extent. We really have to notch it down. Is that the expression? And being considerate, so that we don't overwhelm the client, hosing them down with a whole lot of information, and then, oh my goodness, they're like, what do I, where do I start? But no, that's wonderful.
That's like, oh, you should know how much wisdom and knowledge is out there, and that could be beneficial to you too, you know. So it's really the excitement and the passion for everything that's out there that you just want to share with everyone. But definitely be more moderate about that too.
Well, speaking of sharing, let's go take a look at your beautiful website. So if people are interested, they can come find you here at iam-loveandlight.com. Look at this. First of all, I just love the image, Salma, because you right away place yourself in Mother Gaia. You feel the emotional waters bathing down, and there's this point of light. Beautiful soul. So here we are with your website. And as I scroll down again, I think what you're doing is basically conveying a bridge by these visuals, Salma, so that it is this idea that those seeing your images through your body will feel, you know, if there is this resonant frequency. In fact, I just wanted to say into the microphone now that this dark night of the soul that you spoke about, and then seeing you so light filled here, I just recently read that it is in the darkest places, the darkest of dark, in those super cosmic black holes that Julia speaks of, where the lightest light, the greatest light source is, the pure potentials. So I just wanted to shout that out, because it certainly adds into your story. And then under healing modalities, you can scoot down to Quantum Soul Guidance readings. Click on that, and here we are in this gorgeous, this is a recently added on feature, I imagine, for galactic astrology readings and guidance.
The image you mean, or the page? Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Do you mean the image or the page itself?
I just think there's just like a dovetailing of going from you physically now into this galactic. I can bridge you into those, as you said, these grids of consciousness, these networks. And as Julia pointed out, not just in this universe. So I'm speaking to those people who are either beginning, intermediate, or very advanced, that I think you can shift gears and guide all levels. So looking at this chart, here we go. So currently you're offering quite a bit in these. Are they just written reports currently, Salma?
I do both written reports and online sessions. So there are three tiers. Also, I think what is advised. So I have a written report. If someone just wants to receive a written report, all these themes will actually be covered there. Then I have the option of just doing an online session, recorded or not recorded, depending on the preferences of the client. And then I have a combination of both. What I see is that the clients that come through actually want both. So they want the written report and more explanation, or potentially also in-depth questioning during an online session. So that's what I do, is send them a written report prior to that session so we can actually go deeper. And it takes time to read those reports because they're approximately 40 to 60 pages. There's a lot of information there. Some will resonate, some will not. But it allows the client to also just prepare their questions and intentions for the online session. So it works great, actually.
If I may just comment on that little note, in my experience, things that didn't resonate at first, they resonated like a year later. At least in my experience, I would get often emails of that type that my goodness, I didn't connect to this bit first, but now a year later, oh my goodness, so much of it was revealed and I get it now. So it feels like what you're delivering is really very truly quantum, and it will be unpackaged or digested, integrated over a long period of time, even if you dilute it quite a bit, but still the information will work with you for a long time. Yeah,
I'm quite sure that's actually how it worked for me too, in all those years of personal development, spiritual development. I mean, when we started off with Metatron, I didn't know Metatron, and now I fully embody it and understand it. So these are all breadcrumbs that can be shared, and this written report could be a set of breadcrumbs that are shared now or activated today and could be fully blossomed down the line, certainly. Yeah.
Salma, 5 hours and then a 7-hour offering. That's remarkable. That goes really deep. I just love that. I don't think I've seen someone offer that. Oh, and also you have a newsletter. I just wanted to do a shout out quickly. Yeah. So if you're interested in tracking Salma and getting to know her better, sign up for her little newsletter under her website. Go ahead, Salma. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just to clarify, so the 5 or 7 hours is really the combination of the research part of that too. So if it's an online session, it's approximately, let's say, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 2.5, depending on the time that I have and the depth that I can go into, or the client wants me to go into. It's a combination of both research, preparation, so the client gets to know how much goes into that. Also, I think that is definitely necessary to share too. There's a lot of research that goes into it, as you both know.
What I think this is the first time, Julia, that we really talked about the in-depth research that goes into preparation and attunement into a client's star families, that it's not just I show up, I read your report and it's over. It's not like a channeling spot in the moment only. I know that does happen, but there is this very step-by-step progression, and you learn how to read a chart in various ways by working with the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner's course. Even, I'm going to say, even if you don't intend on becoming a practitioner, if you want to just self-study and work with your family and friends' charts, it is this highly intensive analysis, perhaps, if you choose to. So I appreciate Salma's thought that, you know, it really is a comprehensive attunement, whether that's in meditation or reading and researching more about particular star systems and star families.
Yeah, so much time and dedication goes into it. What just occurred to me that imagine the spirit team of someone who never really had a chance to pay attention to what they are trying to communicate, and then someone shows up who is going to be spokesperson for the person that the guides are watching over, and they must be like so excited to, oh my God, finally someone is paying attention. Let me give you everything there is to help them. We're trying to reach them for years.
Yeah, definitely that comes through.
Yeah.
Because I have this urge to jot it all down, whatever comes through, and just be like, here you go. There's this whole package full of things that I found out, and see what resonates. Yeah, definitely.
This time, yeah. Salma, while we have you, you know, I said your chart is very complex, and that there are many significant stars and alignments that we've talked about in these podcasts before. But there is a couple that I would like to ask you about, so that we can, you know, share about these stars that are not as much talked about. And in particular, I mean, Alpha Reticuli, and then Algol, which we mentioned in our previous podcast, I think. So first, the Alpha Reticuli, you have this star system conjunct your Mercury and Venus, which is in like 6-7 degrees of Aries. So from what we know about the star system, that it may show up as a restriction somewhat on the heart space and overdevelopment of the mental space. And I'm curious, and kind of when I look at the entire chart of yours, it's like multiple places where that may manifest this way. However, I feel strongly in your case that with the connection to these kind of founder or seeders frequencies, that blueprinter frequency that you are embodying so beautifully, that perhaps that alignment is there for you to help evolve that star system frequency towards greater harmony with the heart and the mind. Would that resonate? Would you like to comment on this alignment, how that showed up in your life?
It very much resonates. If I look at my life up till now, it has definitely been the majority of it using my mind as one of the key assets, also to evolve, or at least be in let's say, sort of a safer place. So if you look at my youth, my upbringing, quite challenging at times, and the thing that I could actually rely on was my mind and my effort, my persistence to evolve and grow out of these pains and difficult circumstances. So it's definitely something that I could rely on as one of the strengths, and I'm very grateful for to be able to have tapped into it. But then the next challenge in terms of my spiritual development, and this too is actually something I received from an ayahuasca session, is you fully develop the mind. Now you have to fully connect and develop the heart space and put those two in connection with each other. So that's definitely something it kickstarted. And ever since the dark night of the soul, you know, I really had to go in and learn how to feel again, learn how to connect with my heart, learn what is blocking me from really using my heart space more and in connection with. There's a lot of shadow work I had to do in terms of understanding why I was not able to tap into it. There's a lot of fear around it, like many souls actually have. It's always easier to rely on your mind and be very problem solving oriented versus feeling and going within and using your heart space, especially if you want to continue to protect yourself. But in terms of the connection with Zeta Reticuli, you know, I was just telling you actually prior to this session that I've read the book of Lisa Riel and the Prism of Lyra, and that chapter on the Zeta Reticuli really resonates in the sense that they overdeveloped their mind, or overly focused on evolving society from a mind's perspective and a material perspective, and lost their connection to spirituality and the heart space. So for me, it was just an extra reminder, even in this incarnation, that I need to continue to bridge those two and focus on connecting with my heart space. If you look at what I've done prior to the healing modalities, and even now I'm still in business, business venturing, to be specific, but also teaching at a business school. And I focus on, if you look at my business venture programs, I'm actually focusing on the convergence of exponential technologies into a couple of focus areas, of which education, healthcare, and circular economy. So even from that perspective, I think, I was driven to combine both, not just because I'm super into tech and innovation. So I have to still be on that path too, but merging them and allowing for these technologies to come through that are helpful for certain domains such as healthcare and education and circular economy. And I feel I'm still being guided to combine both technology, innovation, but also spirituality, and bridge those and find an intersection in the future. I'm not sure what that is going to look like, but I feel called to continue to do all of them. But for now, I'll definitely remain focused on the healing modalities and being of service through those.
I'm hoping, Julia, you can add in that beautiful picture that Vashta.com has of the lyrans, the feline lioness lyrans, because it feels like when I see Salma in this recording, it is a clear, I know it's a predominant energy of the ancient origins. And so when you were talking about blueprint, founder, etc., I was hearing this idea that, and also from afar. So it's not even just within this matrix. There's nested matrices within matrices. And the beautiful thing is you've come back. You've come back to test yourself and to share this idea of transcendence and transformation from the darkest, darkest dark is where that golden light is. So I applaud you for taking on this mantle of a wide dashboard to help others on all levels, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. Just, it's astonishing. And I will just lastly say, Ram Dass, that your YouTube with your one video currently calls out the masculine voice of Ram Dass, who is also speaking into this field of the I am and sitting well within who you are without comparison. It's just this authentic I am and letting everything else go.
Thank you so much for that too. I fully resonate with all of what you said.
We're so blessed to have you both, ladies. It was such a treat, such a joy. Was there anything else, any other message that you had in mind before we connected that you wanted to share, whether with our students, practitioners, or the wider community?
Yeah, so in terms of the students, I would definitely like to give them the advice or just a tip to allow themselves to pace themselves on the journey of learning, allow the information to digest. And when you think this is new information that you're learning, it's in actuality, you're tapping into or you're activating that inner knowledge. So trust that you're being divinely guided, trust that your spirit teams are guiding you as well as the spirit teams of the clients. So go along and just have fun with the whole process of learning new things in this course and see, and also just trust that you're being guided to work with this modality. So I think it's just let the universe, let everything flow through you, and trust that everything is within you. It's just remembering, reactivating, and then choosing to use this modality for service to others if you want to.
So beautiful. Thank you, ladies. Julia, Salma, my goodness. It's such a delight. And we're connecting from Ireland, from Amsterdam, and California. And one last thought, that Salma offers sessions in both English and Dutch. Thank you, thank you. And we'll see you guys next time on the Galactic Astrology Podcast.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Take care.